What is the function of a pickup line? Stick around and let's chat about what the literature says today on this episode of Christian Date Coach. Let's hit it. What's up, everybody? My name is Dr. Phoenix Singh. It's a pleasure to be here with you as always here for this episode of Christian Date Coach. It's a blessing to have you here with me. Please do subscribe to our channel if you enjoy our content, and also hit that bell so you get notifications every time that we post new original content. Please feel free also to like this video and to share it with your friends, with your family, with your congregation, anybody who you think may enjoy these types of evidence-based videos on attraction, dating, and long-term relationships. From a Christian perspective, but really relevant for absolutely anybody watching, because this is the kind of stuff, guys, that it doesn't matter if you're a person of faith or not. This is just what the peer-reviewed academic literature says about a lot of different phenomena that I found over the last several years reading as many relationship books for Christian singles as possible. It's never covered, absolutely never covered, and so I'm so excited to be able to bring this kind of information to y'all. Per usual, would love to hear from you in the comments below. I would love to hear your questions or any ideas for future topics that we can tackle on this program. And in addition, to the very end, I'm going to provide you with more details about how you can get in touch with me in terms of my website. But for the time being, these are my social media accounts, and you're more than welcome to contact me there, or otherwise just to follow me. I try to post content as much as I can. All right, so we got a fun one today. This is all about pickup lines. I asked people, what's the worst pickup line that you've gotten? And some people just have the worst things that you will ever hear in your entire life. I'll do another video for you guys about like my all-time favorite pickup lines. There's ones like somebody told me once, like looking down at your phone. I do have my phone. Okay, it's like looking down at the phone or whatever, and like walking around or whatever, and going up to somebody and being like, "Is there Wi-Fi in here?" And then just looking at them, being like, "Because I feel a strong connection," right? And this stuff, and it's like, oh my God. Some of the stuff's just really bad. And when said in like a cheesy fashion, sometimes it can actually work kind of well because it's cute or it's clever. But sometimes pickup lines can just be, downright nasty, let's be honest here, right? I've heard everything, right? In terms of from the most innocent to just really, really inappropriate ones, okay? So a lot of people wonder, well, what's the function of a pickup line? A lot of people these days think, pickup lines don't even work. Why would somebody even use a pickup line? And why is this something or whatever that seems to be used so much more by men relative to women? I think that that's a very fair question, all right? Now, interestingly, there are several different functions of pickup lines, okay? So one of them has to do with this phenomenon that's called hypergamy. Hypergamy is a fancy way for basically saying that women choose men, right? So at least amongst Homo sapiens, amongst human beings, right? Women choose men in terms of partners. Now, a lot of guys, we think that we're the ones doing the choosing, but in the overwhelming preponderance of cases, women non-verbally begin the entire courtship process, and we don't pick up on it, we just respond to it, and then we think that we're the ones or whatever kind of making the call. But in terms of whether or not we actually kind of, get the girl or not, have somebody we can be in the relationship with, women largely are the ones who are doing the choosing here, and the hypergamous nature of women is the reason why. And it's largely due to this thing called the cost of gestation. The idea here is that, like if a guy went out tonight, had sex with 5 different women, and technically all of them could get pregnant, and then if that was the case, for the next 9 months, the guy there's no consequences for the guy. There's no hormonal consequences for the guy. There's no bodily consequences for the guy, right? He doesn't end up, getting, a stomach, right? He doesn't end up having mood swings, etc. It's just totally normal. And at the same time, for women, men, you have to respect women so much for what they go through in terms of having children. Oh my goodness. So if you're somebody and your partner is pregnant right now, you need to really not only be there for her, physically and emotionally, but you just have to respect the heck out of them. in terms of what they're kind of going through. It's just one of these things that the female body is absolutely a beautiful and amazing thing, right? And never more so, I would argue, than during pregnancy. Pretty incredible, right? So it's one of these things, though, that because that cost, as it were, the cost of gestation, so much higher for women relative to men, and of course, modern medicine, amazing thing, very few women die during pregnancy. Not historically the case, right? It used to be that, so many children died during childbirth, and also, women died during childbirth. It was just not the norm, I don't want to say that, but it was something where, it's one of the reasons why people had so many more children. We were kind of, rolling the dice and playing the odds as human beings. And so what happens is that it's very important because of that women kind of be really picky in terms of the men that they end up dating. And there's a lot of things that women are looking for in men. We have other videos on this channel, of course, about the things that a man needs to have for a woman to be able to find him attractive, and vice versa, and different ways that men can work on optimizing themselves to be able to kind of hit those triggers, etc. So please do check out other videos on our channel if you're interested in that, right? But essentially, pickup lines, one of the functions that they serve is that it is a rapid way for men to allow their motives to be hypergamously screened by women. Okay, and so I'll say it one more time, right? So it's a rapid way for men to allow their motives to be hypergamously screened by women. So in terms of their motives, right? I mean, what's the guy saying, right? Is he saying, like, for example, I mean, guys, if you're going up and saying something sexual to a woman to try to actually, get to know her, you're an idiot. Like, I'm sorry, there's no other way for me to say it. I'll be as judgmental as I can here. I try not to be judgmental, but I'm quite confident I fail every 10 seconds of that, right? But just don't do it. How immature are you? Guys, step your game up, right? But let's say that you do that. You go up and just say something very hypersexual, right? So for example, I remember being like an undergrad or something. I had this guy who lived in my hall who was an engineer, and he had some terrible pickup line or whatever about like, let's take me, add you, like subtract like every other man in the world, and then I'm gonna do such and such to you. I mean, it's just really terrible. And it's also math-based, guys. No! Stop it with the math-based pickup lines. I don't know what you're thinking. Don't do that, right? But what happened was that obviously the guy was chronically rejected by everybody, and kind of for good reasons, obviously, as you can tell with a pickup line like that, let alone. But it's one of these things where you're putting out there via the pickup line, which is usually the first thing that you say, or one of the first things that you say, right? You use the pickup line, and then basically your motives have become clear in some way, even if your motive is just to express interest for the other person, right? Complimenting the woman on something that she's wearing, or I saw you from across the room and I thought you had beautiful eyes, or whatever it happens to be, right? Or like, I noticed you were doing such and such, whatever. You're still communicating your desire to have an interaction with the person, right? Now, I can't promise you that right off the bat, especially men, are going to be able to tell whether or not the woman is interested in them or not, because women have significantly more parts of their brain that actually picks up on and interprets accurately nonverbal communications. Versus, men, we have very few, right? So women have over 10, men have fewer than 5. So it's one of these things where a lot of the times, men are always like, woman's intuition. It's really not intuition. It's just the ability to read nonverbals. So many guys are like, she always knows when I'm lying. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, and we can have another video all about lying and gender differences in lying. But it's usually just the ability to pick up on tiny nuances, these micro expressions, when it comes to nonverbals, right? But regardless of whether it's what you're saying or it's how you're saying it, you're putting your interest out there, okay? And basically, because you're doing it so soon, it's such a rapid fashion, right? It lets the woman basically immediately evaluate you, and it's like human Tinder. It is a human Bumble, right? The woman will either be like, either yes or no. And I don't mean, yes, I'm interested in you. I mean, yes, I'm willing to continue the interaction. That's all it is. I'm willing to continue this conversation, maybe not for more than one more line that you have in terms of, introducing yourself or going deeper into who you are, your interest in me, or whatever it is. But at least I'm interested in like you saying something else. Or it could be a total blowout. It could be a nonverbal blowout of just the person being like, giving you a face and looking away. It could be kind of, turning the shoulder, anything kind of turning the body away. There's so many ways to be able to pick up on it, or it could just be verbally, like something rude, like, no, right? Or it could be, oh, thank you so much, but I have a boyfriend, or whatever it is. I'm just here with my girlfriends tonight, thanks though. Whatever it is, right? It is a rejection. And I use the term rejection in a different way than most, because I think a lot of people hear rejection and they think that you are getting rejected. You as a human being are being rejected. And this is very harsh, because basically what it's suggesting is, hey, you and your genes, no, we don't need any more of that. No more generations of your genes. Thanks, get out of here, right? And so guys take it very, very severely. Women take rejection severely as well, don't get me wrong, but for guys, it's like especially devastating, like a stab to the heart, right? And so at the end of the day though, right, if you get screened in, meaning you can say something else, then you need to just, continue and demonstrate higher value and kind of all these classic things, right? Display creativity in some regard. That's a very classic guy thing. Try to make her laugh, try to build rapport, etc. We'll go into that in other videos. But that's kind of the function of pickup lines. That's one of the two key ones, is that, again, it's functional for men, right? In terms of basically allowing the woman to screen them fast, because if they get rejected, they can say, I'll go on to the next person, right? And talk to the next person if there's somebody else that I find attractive, all right? And women, please don't, ladies, please don't take this as an insult in terms of the idea that the guy's going to go talk to somebody else. It's certainly not something where it's like, well, you didn't mean anything, I'm actually interested in this other person instead, and you're a replaceable person. You are not a replaceable person. If you make it clear that you're not interested in the interaction of these things, the right thing for the guy to do is to not take it personally, and basically to be able to walk away and talk to somebody else that he's interested in. But you shouldn't take it as insulting that he wants to talk to somebody else then, right? I reckon that's sensible, okay? Now, the other principal function of pickup lines is that they screen for female personality traits that men find attractive in terms of triggers, right? Attraction triggers. One of them is extroversion, right? So if a guy says something that's maybe humorous, right? He's screening for sense of humor, right? And sense of humor, of course, is a proxy for extroversion as a big 5 personality trait, right? And it's just your general sociability, right? I mean, are you somebody who is kind of like a fun person to be around? Somebody who, like if somebody's coming up and trying to be, fun and funny in these things, and, you're just completely stone-faced or whatever and act like you don't care, that's okay, right? But you shouldn't expect the guy to be interested, right? Because he's putting out there almost like an antenna. What he's communicating is, I'm interested in the kind of woman who would find something like this humorous if I use a cute little line, right? And at the end of the day, right, if that is something that you're not interested in, you shouldn't be blamed for that. Guys never get mad, right, at a woman for not being interested in your pickup line. What a ridiculous thing to get frustrated with. And again, you're not getting rejected. Your approach is getting rejected, and you should know that, and then you should pivot, right, because we're human beings. The whole goal of human beings is to aim, and then to fail, and then to adjust and aim, and try and fail and aim and try and fail. Literally, I mean, this is why sin means to miss the mark. It's an archery term, right? And that's it. The way that I like to think about these things, imagine like you've got a sniper and then you've got somebody who has binoculars, like the scout, right? And the scout's basically saying like, you're 2 inches off to the right. And so what do? Do you just literally take another shot? No, right? You readjust, you recalibrate, and then you try again. Military family, what are you going to do, right? That's the example I'm going to use here. So it's one of these things where that's the first kind of element. You could also, the guy could be screening you, so if you're a woman listening, right, could be screening you for neuroticism, which is another big 5 personality trait, right? And so neuroticism takes a lot of different forms, but neuroticism, one of the things is that it's sensitivity to negative emotion, right? So not only kind of emotionality in general, but things like anxiety and depression, right? So for example, if the guy kind of gives a pickup line that is some kind of a compliment, right, and it's taken very poorly, one of the things that it could suggest, it doesn't mean that it's true, but that it could suggest is something like either low self-esteem, or somebody's very anxious, or somebody doesn't respond well at all, they're depressed, or whatever it is, right? But that is a personality trait that has been found in the peer-reviewed research literature, just like with extroversion, that you can screen for based on pickup lines. It's interesting, right? The final thing the literature says that you can screen for using these lines is what's called psychoticism, right? And psychoticism is not like, you're nuts, right? That's not what it's saying, okay? It's not like you're a psycho. No, first of all, pejorative term. Don't say that, right? Having been in mental health for long enough, we try not to use labeling language. Not a good thing. But psychoticism, essentially what we're talking about is recklessness, right? So if the guy is saying something very overtly sexual or inappropriate like that, okay? This literally, he could just be saying, he's just like letting you, like just like tell you to get him the heck out of here. And if you don't tell him to get the heck out of here, he's basically assuming that you will be reckless enough to just like sleep with him. Because he's literally putting it out there very bluntly and overtly and inappropriately. So if you respond positively to it, then he's going to assume that you're impulsive and reckless. And then he's going to continue escalating the interaction, etc., until the point where he's assuming that he can bounce you from the location, take you back to his place or go back to your place, and that's the situation. Not a good situation, okay? But again, it has been found in the literature that this is something that overtly sexual pickup lines screens for as a personality trait. Okay, so those are what the literature suggests are the principal functions of pickup lines. Especially when delivered by men. We'll do a video on the most effective pickup lines for women as well. So for you guys, that'll be coming up. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for today. I hope you found this insightful and the literature as interesting as I always do. Please do like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and feel free to share with other members of your congregation or your friends who may be interested in this kind of literature. If you're interested in having me come and speak at your place of worship to singles or couples or a mix of both, it would be a blessing to be able to do that. And if you're interested in one-on-one or group-based dating or attraction coaching, it would be a pleasure to help you with that as well. I run Christian-based programming for both. Please feel free to visit me via the website below and we can chat more about that. Signing off for today, everyone. God bless you. And don't forget to get out there, take chances, and be your best self. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed that episode and you'd like to see more original content, then please do click on one of the links right here. I hope to see you in the next one.